everybody. Don't pay any attention to what happened. I gotta do this. Yeah. Otherwise, they aren't gonna know when it starts. Okay, we're gonna talk about camera gear, maintenance, and cleaning. I've got a bunch of stuff here. I got my old camera that I lovingly call my POS, my Olympus. I remember when I first got it, it was so beautiful. I was like, look at my new camera. And I'm like taking pictures, everything was blurry, everything was overexposed, underexposed. Oh, I'm not talking into the microphone, sorry. Anyway, I've got,
clip it.
What?
You can clip it.
Oh. Sorry.
You're like a YouTuber.
I'm like a YouTuber. I got a little loop. It's called the Loop, L-O-U-P-E. It's broken right now because I broke it while I was testing it last night, but it is to see inside of a sensor. Got some cleaning gear. Got some more fun stuff. I even have parting gifts for everybody. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna talk a little bit, then I'm gonna show a couple videos and talk some more, and so hopefully you won't fall asleep by these videos. So the first thing we need to do is to minimize any kind of dirt, breakage, minimize the risk. So what are the main things that you're gonna worry about? Rain. Number one, everybody's worried about rain. Sand is another one. Dust, dirt, debris, anything flying around. Heat and cold. And the things that can cause this be normal is changing lenses. Changing lenses will introduce dust into your sensor. Of course, then we have, oh, I can't get this off. These are lens hoods. They will help you with the lens element and from fingers, sticky fingers. So first what we're going to talk about is, oh, we got to watch a video. That was my intro. So I'm going to turn the lights off quick. First I'm going to start the video. Is this thing working?
It should.
Okay.
Right, I mean, make sure you got an image up there. I don't think you see it. I don't see an image.
I don't either.
It's waking up.
Ah, it was sleeping. Sorry, folks. That's not my fault.
Okay, fine. There it is.
There we go. Okay, I'm gonna turn the lights off.
Okay.
Hi, it's Paul here from Photo Genius. Now in this video I want to talk about looking after our camera gear. I'm going to show you how to clean your cameras, I'm going to show you how to clean your lenses. But before we get into that, I want to talk about good practices that we should get into that will help us not just look after our gear, but actually minimise how much cleaning we actually have to do. And the first thing I want to talk about here is changing lenses. Now, I've got a couple of DSLR cameras here.
Can you hear that?
A DSLR camera or a mirrorless camera. You will know that one of the advantages of having a camera like this is you can change next to the changing lenses is fine, but can be dust and dirt get inside the camera and stick into the sensor. You'll know if your sensor is dirty because when you look at your images, particularly on a large screen, you will notice little dots or marks on your image, particularly if you're doing maybe landscape topics. It tends to show up really well in bright skies. Now, what we want to try and do here, of course, is minimise the chances of dust getting inside the camera. Now, here's what I see a lot. When I'm doing my courses and workshops, I'm working with a lot of different people, and generally if people want to change lenses, they pop the lens off, pop the camera down, go to the camera bag to get the next lens. Now one of the problems here of course is the moment this lens comes off, the internal workings of this camera are exposed to dust, particularly if you're going to put the camera on its back like this. Now dust is usually falling downwards due to gravity. So my tip is this: get the next lens ready first. This lens would typically be in my camera bag, so I pop the rear cap off, pop it back in the bag for a moment whilst I take this lens off. Now rather than hold the camera like this, I point the camera down. That way you're less likely to get any dust get in inside the camera. And very quickly, off comes the lens, grab the next lens as quickly as possible on the camera, and that's it. Now, so this lens doesn't get dusty, cap on, back inside the camera bag. Done. This is a very efficient way of changing lenses and can help minimise the dust getting into the camera and sticking to the sensor. Okay, I want to talk about taking photos in the rain. Now, generally speaking, cameras, water, not a good mix to be fair. So if it's raining, it's probably best to put your camera away. Damp wet cameras can be a real issue because mould can grow inside the lens and of course camera parts can corrode. So if you absolutely have to take a photo in the rain, I would recommend investing in a rain cover. There's a company called Think Tank that make a really good range of covers called hydrophobias. A lot of the pros use them.
That's very expensive.
Videos, so you can check it out for yourself. So if you like getting out about landscape photography, wildlife photography, maybe sports photography, and occasionally you think you might get caught in the shower, invest in a rain cover. Get it now before it's too late. Now, harsh environments. Let me just talk about the beach. I love going to the beach sometimes and taking photos, but this is a very harsh environment for a camera. So my recommendation here is just to be sensible and be careful. Try not to get any sand on the camera because sand is very abrasive. Sand granules can work their way into the camera parts and this can be a real issue. Plus, because it's very abrasive, the sand on the lens will scratch the lens. Even worse is salt water. So again, just be really careful. Now I've got a question for you. When was the last time you cleaned out your camera bag? Probably the answer is never. The problem with cleaning out cameras and then putting them into a dirty camera bag is it's going to pick up dust, dirt, maybe sand. So every now and again, whip out the contents of your camera bag, give it a good vacuum out, and then put it all back together again. It's all about getting into good habits. Now let's talk about looking after our lenses. Now that
where are we at here? 4 minutes. Okay. Oh well. So we saw Mr. Australian guy talk about how to minimize the exposure to dust. Your sensor, we all know the sensor is this little thing here in the middle, and anytime you have it open, dust can fall in, dust can get in your lens, dust is everywhere. So what he recommends is don't just leave it here. Like he said, don't put your camera like this and, oh, I'm going to go to my camera and dig around. I can't find my cap. Leave your lens on until you're ready to switch. What I do is I get my lens that I want to use ready, get the cap, just let it sit there. Just like he says, I keep it pointed down. I use my belly. I got one of those. Turn it. Quick, boom, and then it's minimize the time. I don't know what everybody else does, that's what works for me. So, oh, did I do that for the camera?
No, you didn't.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
You saw it on the video, same thing.
You might mention that turning the camera off.
Well, I would think that would be a given, but yeah. Actually, you know, I've left it on before and did mistake. Yeah.
It's more likely to pick dirt up.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, he is correct. You do want to make sure your camera is shut off. It won't kill it if you leave it on, because I've been guilty of just about everything that I'm going to preach about here. Let's see, where are we at here? Okay, so I know how to change the lens. When you're done then, put the end cap back on. I know a lot of people, I've seen YouTubers just throw the lens in their bag and this is open, this is open. Whoops. Put the caps back on. You can even, which is one of the tools, blow it out first. And then, so it's nice and clean and ready for the next time. Okay, so rain. He talked about rain, the big rain sleeve Think Tank. You've got a Think Tank one. I was going to buy one. I remember the first time I was out in the rain with the club. It was a lightning storm. We were at 9 Mile Pond. And I was looking at all these people, and they had all these fancy Think Tank and covers. And I'm like, uh-oh. and my light bulb went off. I ran back to the car and I grabbed an old Publix bag. I happened to have one in the back seat, covered it up, and I'm like, I don't need your fancy stuff. But I did end up buying one of these. These are, you get 2 of them for like 10 bucks, Amazon. They're cheap, they're light, they fit in the camera bag real easy. Just a rain sleeve. Camera, sorry. Now the think tank ones, they are pretty cool. You have arms that can go in to the lens, some that can go in from the side. But, you know, how often are you really out there doing that? Unless it's something that you're doing on a regular basis, I honestly wouldn't waste your time with it. See how nice it folds up? So all this stuff that I'm going to talk about, I will put it in a link so you know what it is. I don't have any affiliates. I'm not that popular. Sorry. Okay, another thing, and I didn't bring one, and I had one handy, damn it, a shower cap. We all go to hotels occasionally. If you ever see a hotel room with a shower cap, grab it. Because those things make great covers, just for a little over the top. And one thing I forgot to mention, sorry. What you should first check is take your camera and look, you all know what cameras you have. Google it or look up the manufacturer and see if it's weather sealed. If it's weather sealed, you don't really have to worry so much about rain. I mean, I wouldn't go swimming with it, but it'll stand a good downpour. So, yeah. Okay. Even if it is weather sealed, it's still a good idea to, especially if you've got a really hard downpour, because you don't want to get. I had not this camera, but my mirrorless. It was so wet that it messed up. You know how sometimes you put your eye up to the eyepiece and you pull it away and you can see the live view, and it was kind of. I was a drop of water in that sensor, and it wouldn't switch. And I thought it was broke, and they're like, no, here was just wet. So it's, just take care, whatever you feel is necessary. I mentioned the shopping bag. Everybody's got plastic shopping bag somewhere. There's also something, Delphin, I think you have one, I have one, everybody probably bought one. There's an umbrella that attaches to your tripod. I thought it was just the coolest thing when I first saw it, and I have one in the car, but I didn't want to dig for it. Then I started thinking about it. You got a tripod, you got this cool umbrella attached to your tripod. Somebody needs to be fined. When I was head of the Moose, we were told everybody, shut off your phones, and if it went off, we would charge them $5. I was just happy to embarrass everybody.
How you just beer?
Well, no, the $5 is more. No, that went to the chapter. Nobody paid me. Anyway, so you got your tripod and you get your little umbrella wrapped around and it's clamped. And I'm thinking, well, what usually goes along with rain? Storms, wind. What's that going to do to a big gust of wind comes and picks up this umbrella? And I'm thinking, maybe that's not such a great idea. So I think it's good if you're out and it's not windy. It's just one of those steady rains, just pouring. I think, what were they, like $15, Delphin? They wasn't that expensive. Oh, there you go. Good for your lawnmower. But I mean, it might be good, if you're just standing there, you can just hold it too. It does, And then a regular umbrella. Bring your regular umbrella. Especially like if you're out like hiking, if you got to walk a long way. A lot of times we don't really do that. We just get out of our car and shoot. If it starts raining, we run back in the car. But if you're going a long way, just a regular umbrella to hold over your head while the downpour comes, and then you can put it away when you're done. But, those travel umbrellas, they work really well. They fit in, the back of your camera bag. And this is a microfiber cloth. You can buy these on Amazon too. I bought a package of them for $12. I don't know how much I paid. They're cheap. But when I was in the Smokies, of course I had all the gear, but do you think I would cover anything? So I just laid this over the top of my camera while it was pouring heavy, and it absorbed so much that it was a little damp, but it kept the rain off. So it works for a lot of things. So that's rain. Oh, microfiber cloth. I'm looking at the crowd, not the camera. Okay, the next risk factor, ooh, that's a good name, sand. How many have been shooting out in the desert or beach? We've all been to the beach in the desert. Well, maybe not the desert. My first time was just last spring. And I was out there in a huge dust storm, and there is no way I would ever change a lens in something like that. You determine what your risk is if you want to take a lens off if you're out in the desert. I certainly wouldn't do it when it's windy, but maybe if it's calm and you need to change your lens, go ahead and do that. Another option is if you're going to the desert, because we don't live in the desert, we live in Florida, but if you're going on a big trip to the desert, you might want to rent another camera, or if you have a second body, carry it. Keep one camera with the wide angle and one camera with the long lens, so you have your whole gamut. Or you could rent one of those lenses that go from wide to, it's like a 24 to 300 or something like that. Is that right? Delphin, you're the...
They have 24 to 200, they even have them even longer than that.
Oh, with the wide?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's an option for shooting in the desert. Or, just pick a lens and stick with it. I went out there with a 100-400 and I was plenty happy with that. And the reason sand is, it's like water, but sand blows and it doesn't dry, it stays. And little bits of those fine, tiny particles will get into every crevice. In your camera, in your body, in your camera bag. I know for a fact because when I got done with this, I had to jump right in the shower. There was sand in my ears.
We were in the last, in Utah. I had sand for days.
Oh, really?
I have no idea where it was.
Yeah, so be careful with the sand. If you think, oh, I can change a lens real quick, it'll be fine. No.
Another thing is if you go to a color festival.
A color festival?
In India where they throw all the color powder.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's popular here also.
Oh.
You may want to treat it as if it was really toxic water.
Right. Yeah, Delphin just mentioned the people that throw powder in color festivals. This would work too. Yeah, those, yeah.
You must say here in lens rental. Lens rental will tell you if you go to India for a festival and you rent one of their cameras, their guarantee is not going to cover it and you're going to have to pay for them empirically.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Even if you get the highest insurance?
They don't care. They says that's just not one of the things they cover because...
Don't do it. You know what? If you want to take a picture of a colored powdered festival...
Buy a cheap one that you can throw away.
Take my Olympus. You won't get any clear shots, but you'll have a camera. Okay, let's see, we're at next. The next risk factor is the ocean and sea spray. It's water's water, but salt water is highly corrosive, highly toxic to your camera. We're going to watch a video from Nick Page in a little bit where, Nick, if you don't know who Nick Page is, he lives out...
Your boyfriend.
My boyfriend? I like Nick. I couldn't deal with that beard. Sorry, no. Anyway. I don't know. Why are we talking about this? No. Besides, he's married. He's like 12 years younger than me. Oh, no. He's just a baby. Where am I now? You got me all flustered. Nick Page, you got me flustered. No, he shoots out in the Oregon coast, big crashing waves, and he has reportedly been not easy on his gear. Are we at 30 minutes? Oh, okay. Yeah, if you tell me, I'll just stop talking.
Don't worry, you got 8 minutes and 3 seconds.
I can drag that out. Okay. Salt, corrosive, never good for camera or your electronics. That's probably what happened to this lovely piece of camera. So if you're ever out shooting in the ocean, I remember we went about 4 or 5 years ago. Remember when we went to Jupiter? Mm-hmm. And I was standing there. I had my crop. No, I had the crop sensor then. And I was talking to somebody on my right, and I had my remote shutter, and it was on a tripod, and I was like, oh, this is so cool, and we're la 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 la, I was talking, and I saw this wave coming up. I'm like, oh, cool. So I hit, and I just held it down, blah, 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 blah. Here comes a huge wave crashing up over the camera, onto me, onto her. I mean, it wasn't like we were going to get washed out to sea, but it was enough to get my camera all full of salt water. So when I got back to the hotel, I went and I didn't have one of these at the time, but in a pinch, just a washcloth, anything. But you don't want to soak it. You don't want it like dripping wet. So if you're going to wet it, just wring it out real good and then just wipe off the salt. And then we're going to show you another video where this guy cleans his lenses and his camera, that same Australian guy. And then he mentioned the camera bag. Also, if you're out in the rain, if you're out in the dirt, in the dust, in the sand, keep it zipped up. And when you're done with it, zip it up. If you're shooting on the coastline, you might want to stick it on your bag or on your back, because you get into your shot and you're like, oh, this is so cool. Oh, here comes the wave, and they keep coming and coming. All of a sudden, your bag is floating off to China, or it's just wet. You guys are laughing at me. I get nervous in front of a camera. Oh. Okay, so yeah, it's always good. Get out what you need, keep, in your pockets. Maybe get one of those vests so you look like a dork photographer, but put all your stuff in there. Works great. And you don't have to keep taking your backpack off. Oh, another thing that I just bought, I didn't bring it. Y'all heard of frog togs? No, it's like a raincoat. They talk about Gore-Tex and all these. You're talking $200 for a raincoat, and I'm thinking, when am I going to ever use a raincoat here in Florida? It's number one, it's got to be hot. I can't imagine anybody wearing Gore-Tex down here in the heat. If it rains down here, I don't care. Good, I'm going to cool off. But I needed something when I was elsewhere, so I asked Adam Gibbs, my good friend Adam Gibbs. And he's like, yeah, I got a set of frog togs. And it's a weird material. It's like felt, almost like burlap sack feeling. But we had one day of rain, and I put that jacket on, kept me dry. I also bought a poncho. So if you're ever hiking with the backpack and you don't have a rain cover for your backpack, you can put one of those big old ponchos and put it over you and the pack, and everything stays dry. So, that being said, we are going to talk about, did he? No, he didn't. Protecting your lens. And then I'm going to talk some more. And then we'll go back to this Australian guy again. Okay. Let me turn off the lights. Yeah, it's only 2 minutes.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm actually going to...
Break time. Okay. So now we're going to watch this Australian guy again. If anybody's wondering, it's Photo Genius. Pretty presumptive of him, but I'm a genius. But
There's two things
here we go.
I want to share with you here. First one is lens hoods. I like using lenses for a couple of reasons. A lens hood will help minimize any lens flare from spoiling my photos. It will sometimes make your picture look a bit more contrasty, but as an added bonus, and here very important, it's a great way of protecting your glass from getting damaged. You are less likely to get scratches, fingerprints on your lens if there's a hood in the way. So this is a really good investment. This is quite a large lens lens. So when I put the camera away, here's a good tip, put it on backwards, and it takes up less space in your camera bag. Here we have the Canon, the very popular Canon 50-50, and it has a much smaller hood. But again, it's a very effective and fairly cheap way of protecting the glass on your lens from getting damaged. Now the second way that I recommend protecting your lens is to invest in a UV filter. Now a UV filter is pretty much just a clear piece of glass that fits on the front of the lens, and it helps the lens from getting scratched and damaged. When I bought this Nikon lens, it's about 10 years old, I put this filter on the lens the day significant scratch, replace this UV filter than have to worry about the lens. So buying a UV filter is a fairly cheap and effective way of protecting the investment. When I say cheap though, I would recommend if you're going to buy a UV filter, go and buy the cheapest one. Spend a little bit more when you get a good quality one. Some people disagree with me here on UV filters and don't like them because they think it actually affects the quality of the image. But honestly, if you buy a decent quality UV filter, to me, this is what you should. So 2 tips there for looking after your lenses. And in a moment, I'm going to share with you a bonus tip. And this can be useful when that filter doesn't want to affect the lens. Okay, so now let's talk about cleaning our cameras, cleaning our lenses, and in a moment we're going to talk about storing our gear as well. So I've got a Canon camera.
Sorry, went over a little bit. So that was just a little 2 minutes. We'll put him back. We'll put him back to sleep till the next time. Okay. He talked about 2 different things. The lens hood, which is a very good idea. Has anybody ever dropped your camera? I mean, okay, I guess so. I did once. I put it on the tripod and I forgot, I was in a hurry. Of course, when does this happen? When you're in a hurry. I forgot to tighten the plate thingy, whatever that, what do you call that thingy? That you screw the plate to the tripod head? The screw thingy, whatever, that doohickey. And it sat up there for quite a while, and I didn't even realize I didn't do it. And I went over to my bag, and I was walking back, and just as I don't know if the wind picked up or something, and all of a sudden I just went, thank God I had the lens hood on it. It got muddy because I was in the grass. I was actually at Boca Chica with that D4, and that's a big old brick. That could have really done some damage. Thank God it didn't. Jason, if you're watching this, it's fine, it's fine. That was his old baby. And then they talked about, which I don't think I have, the UV filter. Problems? Okay. UV filter, we all know what filters look like. They screw on. It's basically just plastic or glass or tempered glass, but what do you pay for them? Like 50 bucks? Is that what they cost? A good one? Maybe. Some of them are even cheaper. What did you pay for this big lens? $1,000? $2,000? It's precision glass, highly sophisticated, and you bought this baby because you wanted to take some really sharp pictures. So you're going to take this off and put a $50 piece of plastic on the top? Will it help? Well, when I got splashed with that wave, I did have a filter. It wasn't a UV filter, but I think I had an ND filter on it. It did save the front of the lens from getting salt water, but it's up to you. If your lens is not waterproof or water, you might want to think about it if you're near the water to save it from falls. If your lens is high enough that it could break, if it falls down and it could break the UV filter, chances are it's going to get stuck and it could actually hurt your lens as well. So, do you want to put that cheap piece of plastic on the outside? It's up to you. I leave that in your hands. The only time I would think maybe it might be helpful is if you're out in a blowing sand desert, because that sand, when it sandblasts your lens, it could scratch it pretty good. And if you're out in the desert, you're going to get soft pictures anyway because it's windy. Your tripod, everything's going to move just a little bit. And, it kind of makes it look cool anyway to get those ethereal, soft photos. So maybe that would be one of the places that I would use a UV filter. But for me, I don't use them. And that's, they're cheap because whenever you buy a piece of equipment or something with a camera gear or something, they always include a UV filter. Oh, we throw in a UV filter along with a cheap camera bag. So, anyway. Okay, so that's up to you. UV filter, no UV filter. If you're gonna get one, get a good one. Spend $100, $200, whatever. Okay, did I hit anything? Okay, heat. Heat is another fear factor that could hurt. I don't know, fear factor. It won't hurt your camera, it won't. Heat and cold, they won't necessarily hurt it, but I'm gonna use a lot of for instances. We went to the Keys for that scavenger hunt. It was a great time. We spent the night in the Keys, or I did anyway. And my friend and I had stopped and had a couple beers before going back. So I get in the room, I threw the camera bag in the corner next to the door. Opposite side of the door was the air conditioner. And she likes it cold, cold, cold. And I got up early the next morning, go out to sunrise, and this was fogged up. This was fogged up. The sensor was fogged up. Inside the lens, everything fogged up. Because you know Key West, summertime, it was humid and hot. It took over an hour before that finally went away. And who knows, it maybe, it created a little bit of mold. If you don't take care of it, you could get mold, just like the guy said in his video. So in a situation like that, if everything was perfect, I would leave the camera bag in my car for something like that. But I was in Key West in a hotel parking lot. I wasn't leaving anything important in my car. So other times when I've gone to hotels, I take the bag, zip it up, I keep it zipped up, and wherever the air conditioner is, say like, here's the air conditioner, I would put it as far away from that air conditioner and as high up on a shelf on top of a TV, wherever, because it's, heat rises, so that's what I do, and ever since I haven't had any problems with heat. And I know that Robert has talked about this when he talks about his Northern Lights. People go from a nice toasty warm hotel room out into the below zero freezing, and they could get frost on their equipment. Or even when they bring it in, and the same thing will happen like happened to me. So they recommend, pretend this is a Ziploc baggie, put this inside, seal it up while you're still outside, and then bring it in so the humidity won't get inside that bag, unless of course you got a hole in it. Use a brand new bag. Yeah, I can't remember. Does anybody remember? Did the cameras get frosted up when they took them outside? Do you remember what he said? I know he said that people had problems and he recommended people either leave them where it's cooler or even in the back of the car. So if anybody's going to Alaska, ask Robert. And if I find out, I will put it on the website in case anybody wants to know. Okay. Heat and cold. So that's heat and cold. It won't hurt it, but I know maybe some of us, if you watch YouTube, a bunch of guys went to northern Canada, the Rocky Mountains, Alberta, and that. Battery life. That won't, it won't hurt your camera, but your batteries will suffer when it's really, really cold. They'll be much less of a charge. I don't know about heat, but if you're going on a trip, pack 4 or 5 batteries. I always have a couple extra. All right, so now we're into the cleaning part. Do I have any questions on protecting?
I've had problems depending on the camera in the car. If the air conditioner is blowing on the lens,
right,
same thing can happen. So I've changed the placement.
Absolutely.
Because of that.
Yeah, when I used to go out, I would put the camera in the back of the car because I got a hatch, but I don't keep it that cold in my car now. It's just blowing on me. So I got stuck once when there was some wildlife, and can't just grab.
15 minutes of foggy.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't keep it that cold, and so it doesn't ever affect. But yeah, if you got that AC blowing full blast in your car, you might want to keep the camera bag in the back seat, or shut the vents off maybe in the front, or keep it down below and shut the foot part off.
Don't make it as cold. I'm guilty of that.
Well, or just turn the vents to you.
In my car, I have put it in the back, the hatch, and I like the gets so cold, then I get out and it fogs up. So.
Okay.
Yeah, they never call me the pig. My friends call me the pig when it comes to the temperature.
Well, don't be like Delphin. Be like me.
I've been there where it's like, I'm here for the sunrise, but it's not going to happen by the time I let it clear up.
Yeah. Or, you know, if you are in a cold place, take it out a couple hours ahead of time. You know, you're going to get up you got to be at sunrise at 6 a.m. Get your camera out of that AC and strap it to the top of your car. That'll heat it up. There you go. Yeah, attach a hand warmer. Okay, so now we're going to talk about cleaning. Cleaning. We're going to watch this guy a couple more minutes, and then we're going to watch Nick Page because he's got some corrosion and two different ways. Are we having problems?
No, I'm just so I can move the camera.
You're going to follow me to the light switch? Okay, let's go back to this guy. So I watched all these and I timed it.
We're going to talk about storing our gear as well. So I've got a Canon camera here, and to keep this camera body dust-free and dirt-free, one of the first things I do is I grab this little blower here. So this is really, really useful. This comes as part of a kit. This is made by a company called Giotto. I'll put a link in the description below, and you get an air blower, you get a lens brush, you get some lens solution, a lens cloth. It's pretty awesome. Now what I do here is I use this to blow any dust, dirt or debris off the camera, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to rub any dust or dirt in. If I've got dust on the screen, for example, and I grab a cloth and I start scrubbing any dust or sand or dirt that could scratch the screen, so this air blower will blow away any dust or dirt. It's really good for getting in all those little nooks and crannies. So once I've blowed away all the dust and dirt, then what I'll do is I usually get a paintbrush. Now this is a soft paintbrush, never been used for anything other than cleaning the camera, and I might just brush around and get any of the final bits of dust or dirt off the camera. Pretty straightforward really. Now one part of the camera that can get really dirty is the viewfinder. If you give the viewfinder a little bit of a wiggle, what you can do is actually remove the eyepiece, and that will help you get in and give it a clean. So once again, blowing all the dust and dirt out first. Also, don't forget the rubber eyepiece can get dirty, so I'm cleaning the back of that, the inside of that as well. And once that's clean, I can pop it back on. These viewfinder covers can get lost sometimes. Sometimes they'll work loose, so you can buy replacements in camera stores. So that's pretty much it for the camera itself. Now let's move on to the lens. Okay, so let's talk about cleaning and looking after our lenses. Now one of the key things is the glass element at the front of the lens, and what you want to do is try and keep it as clean as possible. First thing, try and avoid getting any fingerprints on it. Human sweat is greasy, it's acidic, and it can damage the lens coating. So we've already spoken about using a UV filter and use that food to avoid any mud, dirt, dust or fingerprints getting on the lens. But it's inevitable when you use the camera that this will happen at some point. So good practices for cleaning the front of your lens are this. Don't attempt to clean this until you've got rid of any dirt or debris. So once again, the magic blower brush I use to really blast it with air and make sure that any dust or dirt is totally removed from the lens element. The next tip is to use a brush. I'm not going to use the same brush that I use for the camera body. I've got a separate brush. This came in the Giotto kit, and it's great for just working my way around the lens and just making sure that I've got rid of any last bits of debris or dust. I might give it one more blast with the air just to be sure. Next I'm going to grab some lens clean solution, which again is part of the kit that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to give my lens cloth. Rather than spray directly onto the lens, I'm just going to spray a little bit onto the cloth like so. And then in a circular motion, I'm just going to clean the front of the lens element and working my way from the middle outwards. And that looks absolutely perfect. Now the outside of the lens, again, brush, dust off any dirt first with the blower, and then then use the brush. I'm going to use the brush that I use for the camera body, just to make sure there's no dust or dirt inside the switches or inside the moving parts. And that's it. Now I want to talk about sensor cleaning. Now earlier in the video we talked about changing.
Stop. Okay. We're not going to watch him for the sensor cleaning, so let me, no, we're going to, well, one more video.
So over the past couple months, I've shot a lot of seascapes. Just getting back from Hawaii, before that, Oregon.
Okay, what this guy, not Nick, but the other guy, that's if it's lightly dirty, if it, you're just doing a general cleaning. This here is if you've got some serious stuff. So his methods are going to be a little bit different, but it's almost similar. So enjoy.
I was in Iceland, and I haven't cleaned my gear in a while. As a result, I've got a lot of sea salt corrosion getting built up back behind my LCD screen and around some of the screws. Also, my tripod is filthy, so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to clean some of my gear, show you guys how I go about cleaning that stuff, and hopefully this will be helpful to some of you guys. Not as exciting as a top tips video, I know, but it's a hell of a lot more practical. So step one is going to be to get yourself some rubbing alcohol. The higher the percentage, the better. The reason you want to use rubbing alcohol is because it's going to evaporate and not leave residue on your camera gear. The next thing you need is a stiff bristle brush. You don't want something with metal bristles, you just want a plastic. You don't want to be scratching the paint off your camera, but you need something fairly stiff to get into crevices. Also, we're going to be cleaning the sensor, so you're going to need lens sensor cleaning swabs. Those will be links to these little things down below. Also going to be cleaning the rear LCD and the viewfinder with these alcohol pads. These are lens cleaning wipes, ice. Super cheap, you can pick them up at like Walmart or whatever. So I'm going to put some of this rubbing alcohol in a little dish, and then we're going to grab the camera and start taking off the L bracket. A lot of corrosion actually builds up underneath the L bracket, and the L bracket itself might need some cleaning, so we're going to take a look at that. So in my Sony A7R4, I get a lot of buildup back behind this LCD screen, so I'm going to really take my time and try to clean around all the screws and all the hinges on the LCD screen. I'm going to also open up all of the flaps for all the ports on the side of my camera. I'm going to clean really good back on all of those screws, make sure all of that is clean. I'm going to take the viewfinder eyepiece off and make sure that I don't have any corrosion built up there as well. And then I'm also going to take some time and clean really well in the hot shoe area. Sony hot shoes have a lot of electrical contacts in there, so I want to make sure that I get all of that clean. Test out all the buttons, make sure that there's no crunchiness or grit in any of the buttons. If there is, I'm just going to take a cotton swab and clean around the edges of the buttons with some alcohol and operate them until it starts to feel smooth. I'll do the same with the dials. Hopefully all the dials are good, because dials are hard to clean. Then I'm going to take a look at the L bracket. I'm going to clean all of the little nooks and crannies in that L bracket, making sure that there's no sea salt corrosion in there. And once I'm done, I'm just going to take a little microfiber towel and dry it up, get all that excess alcohol off of there, so it evaporates a little faster. Also, while I have the eye cup off, I'm going to go ahead and open up our lens cleaning swab, clean this rear LCD really well, electronic viewfinder, and if I end up with excess alcohol in there, I'm just going to dab it up with our little towel. Might as well take this opportunity to clean the front elements of the lens.
Oh, he forgot the brush.
So now I've got all the corrosion off of the camera itself. It's time to clean the sensor. I know a lot of people...
All right, so you can see the difference between Nick's let's put that back up there, video compared to that other guy. Oh, come on. the heck? Oh boy. Sorry. Open. Why isn't this working? There we go. Okay. Obviously, like I said, Nick's got a lot of salt corrosion around the back of his, there's no lift here, but cleaning everything. I brought one of these. I've got the same brand that one Australian guy. It did come with a lens pen, and I'll be damned if I can find it right now. So I brought this because I leave this in my camera bag. I do use this. Sometimes I think some of these guys can go a little overboard. I mean, a paintbrush, come on, and a separate brush for your lens. I mean, come on. But, you know, if you're that touchy about your gear, go right ahead. You know, I don't want to stop you. And I also, because of that video that Nick just showed, I bought a whole box of these lens wipes. This is like not even a third all these I brought, so everybody gets to have a couple. Let's see, what was I gonna do? Okay, so you got the rocket blower. You saw the hard bristle brush. I guess you could probably get that at like a Home Depot or something. Rubbing alcohol, your paintbrush if you want to go that far, and this. I love these things. These are really good for water. Like I said, you can keep the rain off, you can clean with it. I always keep a couple in my bag, and there's still a bunch at my house. The lens cleaner, if you do buy this as a package, like that guy showed you, you get a little brush. I think there was a lens pen in there too, or did that come from Nikon? I can't remember now. It's just a little brush with a little cleaner. I think it's just, you know, just use one of these. Okay. So for the lightly soiled, which is what the Australian guy, just blow it off. This is what I would do. Just blow the thing off. If you want to get your paintbrush, blah, 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 do that. Just dampen this. If you have lens cleaning liquid, you can do that. You can use the alcohol that Nick used, or just water. Just spray some water, especially if you're near the salt. If you're out, when we were out at the beach that time, I got a wash rag and I just wiped it off because I didn't want to leave any salt on there. And I think that's all you need to do. If you get, you know, you get your fingers all over, you touch it, you're like, oh, I got fingerprints. And just use one of these, you know, in a pinch. How many of us have done this? I don't recommend it, but, you know, if you've got a big glob of mud there, you got to do something. So that's cleaning that, and your lens, and the wipes for the lens element. Let's see. Dirty lens element, yes. If, like I said, if you've got dirty, I would absolutely recommend if you got a lot of sand, because sand could really scratch the front of the element. Blow it off before you use one of these little wipey things. Yeah, so camera bag. Like I said before, keep it zipped up. Once in a great while, pull everything out, and, you know, take all those, I hate doing those little Velcro things, but you know, if you need to, pull everything out, all your gear, and take your vacuum, take a computer vacuum, something to suck all that dirt out of there, because there is. And anything that's in the bag, it's going to probably get into your camera. That guy mentioned a tip, a secret tip. Clean your lens cap, same way. He says, whatever, how many times, where do you go? In your pockets. How many people have lint? Oh, I got a button in there. Anybody got any lint? That's probably gonna get, no, I can't find, oh, because I put it in my pocket. Probably gonna get in your lens cap. So, you know, keep this in the ready. I always keep it on the top of my camera bag, so when I'm ready, I blow it. I blow inside the lens. When I'm changing lenses, I do that just in case. I don't ever do that, but I never do that. Never. But yes, I do. I do lots of things I shouldn't do, but you know, that's up to me. Oh, it's hot. Anyway, let's see. For your heavily soiled gear, we watched Nick get that hard brush, get that alcohol, and scrape all that corrosion off. Again, one of these is great. That's what he used, different color. And the alcohol, I never tried that before, but I've never had a corroded camera before. So I'm guessing if you're along the sea like he is, and if you guys go out to the ocean, that might be a good option to get some rubbery alcohol, or, you know, maybe use one of these. If you got a big box like I do, go to town. Okay. So we're gonna watch one more video with Nick. It's 5 minutes long about cleaning a tripod, and then we're gonna get to the sensor cleaning. We're gonna clean a sensor. We had a little issue. You know, when you clean sensors, you got to put it in there. Well, I'll talk about it then. Let's get through this video. How are we doing for time?
Very good, don't worry.
Very good, very good. Okay, March 5:40. Okay. Turn the lights up again.
It's not just as simple as scrubbing the corrosion off. Some of these parts we need to actually loosen or take the legs off to make sure that we get them 100% clean. A lot of times when you're shooting C-stage, you're going to get some kind of sand in these bottom set of threads. You might start to notice that the legs don't slide out smoothly anymore. These are not too bad, but I know that I have some corrosion up in here, or at least some sea salt buildup up in here, because it's starting to get a little stiff. So we're going to adjust the legs, we're going to clean all of this out, we're also going to clean up this ball head really well. We'll deal with this ball head first. First thing I'm going to do is just kind of look at it, check out how bad it is. So I got some sea salt buildup around some of these screws. The knob seems to work pretty well. For the most part, we just need to clean out these nooks and crannies on the ball head itself. Clean the tripod legs. First thing I like to do with the entire thing is take the legs off. It's so much easier to clean underneath all of these moving parts once you take the leg off. So to do that, you just take an Allen wrench, and with this Pro Media Gear tripod, you just loosen it from one side. Other tripods, oftentimes you have to loosen it from both sides at the same time, so it'll take 2 Allen wrenches. This one, we just undo this Allen screw on the right. And then there's a set screw on the other side that we have to loosen. It's a much smaller Allen wrench. We undo that one. And then we can just take a hammer and kind of punch it out of there. And that's going to allow us to remove the leg from the apex. At this point, we're going to clean the underneath of that apex, get any corrosion off of there. Also, make sure that these washers on the sides are nice and clean, because that's going to be what binds the leg up. So you want to make sure you get those nice and clean. Now on the leg itself, there's this mechanism, it's the leg lock mechanism. You want to make sure that that's moving back and forth really easily. You can adjust it with a Phillips screwdriver. Enduro tripods, Gitzo tripods, they're a very similar mechanism. You can also clean this little axle. I guess you'd call it an axle. You want to clean this shaft, make sure it's nice and clean. And then when we put it all together, we're going to use just a little bit of bearing grease. I've got white lithium grease here, but really you can use any kind of bearing style grease. And as we slide this stuff back through the apex area, we're just going to put a little bit on. Not so much that it creates a big mess, but just enough where it's going to keep the moisture out, and it's going to keep this leg moving nice and smooth once we tighten it back down. Okay, we're going to tighten this stuff back up, and then as we do, we're going to adjust it to where the leg is stiff enough to where you can grab it and hold on to the tripod with one leg without it flopping open, but free moving enough to where it's not difficult at all to open up the legs. The next thing we're going to clean is going to be the threads of our twist locks. Now, oftentimes the bottom twist lock is the one that gets the worst, the messiest, the grittiest. So we're just going to unscrew that. And then as we pull the leg completely out, you're going to notice that it has this little sleeve on the end of the leg. You want to make sure that you take that off, and you're going to clean that as well, because that's oftentimes what creates the most friction against the leg. So we can take that off, we're going to clean it up with some rubbing alcohol, make sure we get all the sand and grit off of it. Maybe even smooth it up with an emery pad. And then we're going to clean up the threads, both on the twist lock and on the leg. Make sure they're nice and clean, there's no sand or grit in there. We're going to wipe down the leg, make sure there's no grit on that. And then when we put it all back together, we're going to put just a little bit of grease again on the threads of that twist lock. It's going to keep the moisture out and keep it threading really nice and easy. Then as we put the leg back on, we're going to re-thread this twist lock a couple times just to kind of spread out that grease. And then we'll test this slide in and out and make sure it's not too gritty. And then we just got to repeat that for every joint. And in this case, usually it's just the bottom set of extensions that are the worst. So I'm just going to clean these bottom 3 twist locks and get them operating nice and smoothly. Yeah, it's definitely the most exciting part of photography, but it's a really important thing. You got to clean your stuff, otherwise it's not going to last very long. And as much as we spend on tripods and on cameras, it's pretty important to keep your stuff clean. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Hopefully this has helped.
All right. Okay. So that was one way to clean it. Not all of them will be able to be done that way. I used to have my old Slick, S-L-I-K. It was a pretty good tripod. It was a little short, but it did me well very long. And I remember when I first saw this video, I'm like, oh, I want to take it apart and clean it. I couldn't figure out how to do it. I even went online, I Googled it, nothing. So I wrote to the manufacturer and they said, you can't take it apart. Oops. So, well, Valerie taught me when we were in Jupiter, put it in the shower. So I set the tripod up like that, sitting there, and I just let the shower run over it. Or just, clean it off as best you can. If there's ever a doubt on how to do it, just contact the manufacturer or go to their website and find out how it is best to clean your model of tripod. Slick did end up sending me some how they put it together, and there were so many parts, and I said, I'm not taking this apart, because I would definitely have parts left over. So yeah, just keeping it clean, and one way to prevent that bottom joint from getting all crunchy is if you're going to go out in the sand, if you're going to go out in anything dirty, pull that bottom joint out. What do we normally do when we go out? We pull the top one first. My tripod is so big that I could leave one whole leg length not even extended, and I don't need it. But you pull out the one that's closest to the top because it's the easiest and it's the thickest. But if you're going to be in some nasty muck and sand and salt water and stuff, pull the bottom one out.
Oh, hi.
Hello? You're not allowed. You got to pay up dues. Anyway. Pull the bottom length out first, so when you're done, you just rinse off that, and it's not going to get in that joint. So that's that. I'm not going to show you that because that's just, I don't want to do that. So now we're going to do the sensor. We're going to watch one more video by Peter McKinnon. And does anybody know who he is? No? I'm the only person that watches YouTube. It's an old video. It's from 2017, and his video was the one that made me comfortable to want to try cleaning my own, especially since that one guy didn't, we won't go there. So his video is a little bit longer. How much time we got?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Like I said before, all these videos that I'm showing here are going to be linked so you can watch them yourself. And then as soon as we're done watching Peter, we're going to clean this thing. All right, let me let's pull this up first. There we go. fluff.
But preferably for it.
Okay. Ready.
As long as possible. Compressed air, lens cleaner, rocket blower. We got a loop and a lens cloth. Now, this is what I do not recommend to use. Compressed air is not very good because it comes out too strong. So if you're trying to clean stuff off of a lens, a lot of the times this can end up pushing dirt further into the camera. It can push it into those crevices of the lens, push it into areas, into the buttons. Now my camera's super dusty and I get home, I might give it like a quick something like that, just to like brush off all the dirt or pollen or whatever's been on it from wherever I've been shooting. But I'm not going to get like super up close into the eyepiece, into all these things, just because I don't want to force anything further into the camera that shouldn't and doesn't need to be in there. Do not turn it upside down and like open up the sensor and sub-zero freeze it, because well, it's just an idiot. Just don't do that. So this is what I use instead. These are rocket blowers. I keep this in my bag everywhere I go. Every time I open up the body to change the lens, I turn the camera upside down so that anything that I'm blowing in here is going to fall out. I don't want to go this way. I want to just give it a quick couple squeezes like that. The dirt falls out. I put my lens on. Now when I'm done shooting, I take my lens off. I give this a quick little once over. I put the cap back on and I'm good. You want to keep this cap on as much as possible, or the lens on as much as possible. You want to avoid any possible downtime where that camera is just sitting open for extended periods of time. That's just asking for it. It'd be like leaving your car with all the doors open and the keys in the ignition, and you park it down in the city and you just go out for the day. You want to give your lens a quick clean when you get home. This nice lens cleaner, this microfiber cloth, super soft. It's just like $3. So it's super cheap, but just to show you an example of like how dirty it was when I was shooting in Africa. This was after one day I just got home, I wiped the lens down. Look at all the dirt that came off. Just one UV filter from like a half day's shoot. That's a lot of dirt coming off of a UV filter. So you can imagine the whole lens was covered, the body, the screen, everything. And I know we're getting into like cleaning a lens here, but I mean we're here. I may as well before shooting the sensor stuff. But I don't recommend just spraying down on the top. First, I would just give a couple of sprays to the actual cloth itself. So I would just start with 2, and then I would wipe the top of the lens. Furthering that, a couple of squeezes of the rocket there. Get all those extra fluffies off, and then the cap goes straight back on. That lens is clean. That's all you need to do. Don't use this. You don't need to spray the shit out of it. Just spray the rag, get it done, moving on. Alright, now it's time for the sensor. So you can have it professionally cleaned. You can send it to your camera manufacturer. They'll do it, obviously, in a clean room, flawlessly. They'll get it back mint. There is the downtime of having your camera gone. You have to ship it to them. Unless you live close, you might be able to drop it off, and you still gotta go pick it up or have it shipped back. So there's a Canadian company called Visible Dust, and they specialize in sensor cleaning, camera cleaning, and all that kind of thing. And they've got a product called the Arctic Butterfly. And they're not paying me to say this or advertising any of their stuff. I don't actually even use the Arctic Butterfly. I used to have one back when I worked at the camera shop, because they're really expensive. They're like $350. At that point, you may as well just send your camera out to have it professionally cleaned. They work pretty well. I just never really liked it that much. There's 2 different methods. There's using that brush. I prefer the swab. So they sell these swabs and they're individually packed so that they're perfectly clean and airtight. And then you get this liquid with it, which is called V-Dust Plus, multi-ingredient formula specifically made for DSLR sensors. So there's the sensor.
He's Canadian, by the way.
That's all you need. You toss this away. You buy a pack of them. You get like 12. Like I said, I'm not cleaning my sensor every month, every 2 months anyway, so 1 pack of these swabs will last me quite a while, unless I was shooting somewhere like Africa on a consistent basis. The last thing that I use is what I really like from them, and I've had these as long as they've made them, is their loops. So it comes in a little case like this. It's essentially a giant magnifying glass with different LEDs. You got red ones, you got white ones, and then you got nothing. So this sits on top of the camera so that you can look down onto the
sensor and see it massive, and you can actually see where the dusts and dots and all the dirt is, so you know where to swab or if you've missed anything. So the red LEDs are something that they're calling dark adaptation, which means when you're in a dark environment, you're using those LEDs and your pupils have adjusted to that environment, you're able to see more detail and more spots and potential dirt on the sensor using that red LED with their dark adaptation technology. So the problem is there's dust and particles and nonsense floating everywhere in your house. You can't necessarily see it, but you don't want your sensor open and exposed if all of this stuff is floating around. So what do? Go into your bathroom and run the shower on as hot as it goes for like 5 minutes. That's going to get the room really, really hot, really, really steamy, really, really humid. And that weighs down all the dust, all the dirt, all the particles that would be floating around in the air. Turn off the shower, bring the camera in, do your sensor cleaning. That's the best case scenario of not getting any extra particles or dust floating around, trapping them in your camera by accident. You essentially created a clean room in your house by weighing all that dirt down with the humidity and water and the steam that's in the air from the shower. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is turn the camera on. A lot of these cameras, the sensor is open through the menu. So I shoot Canon, you guys do as well. It's under the wrench tab, and it's the third tab over, called sensor cleaning unit. Click on that, and you've got 3 options now. You'll notice it has auto clean, clean now, and clean manually. Clean now, you'll probably notice if you click that, it kind of vibrates the sensor a little bit to shake off some of the dirt. You'll probably notice that also happens sometimes when you turn the camera off. At the end of the day, there's a little sensor cleaning there just to kind of keep everything as neat and tidy as you can. But what you want to do is go back into that menu, sensor cleaning. You're going to go clean manually. What that does is it exposes the sensor, and then it's go time. So let's go ahead and do that. Clean manually. This mirror will lock up after manually cleaning sensor, turn the power off, which will automatically close that door. So go over to OK, and listen to this. There it is. The sensor is now open. All right, so that is your image sensor. So what you're going to want to do is throw that loop on there. Keep any dirt out. We're going to turn the light on. Take a look inside. So there is that loop looking inside. That is red, which will show more dirt and specks. Now I'm going to put 1 drop on the front and 1 drop on the back. Sometimes I do 2 drops on the front, 2 drops on the back, but, you know, to each his own. Take this off. Try not to drop this. Try not to drop the swab at this point because it's perfectly clean and you don't want to touch the sensor with anything that's not clean. It'd be like washing a car and if you drop the rag on the driveway and then pick the rag up and continue wiping down the car. Not the best idea. So we're going to go 1 drop here, 2 drops because I feel like it. Flip it over, 1 drop and 2 drops just to get like an even distribution of liquid. So you're going to put the swab all the way in and just paint across. Pretty much it. Now you can do another pass to make sure there's no streaks on there. Once you're done, you're going to throw that loop back on. You're going to take a look at your handiwork, make sure there's no streaking, no more specks. Now once you're done, just like the instructions said, you want to turn that camera off. And that closes the sensor door, flips the mirror back down, and we're good to go. Alright guys, so that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something.
That's it. So that was pretty simple, huh? Everybody sleeping? For clean the sensor. I bought Jason's old D4, and I had gone somewhere and I thought, oh boy, I need to get it cleaned. And I know he used to clean his own because he was never afraid of it. I said, why don't you show me? So I went over to his house, and it hadn't been cleaned in a while. It took him, I don't know, 5, 6 swabs, because once you make a pass, I think one side and then you do another side and then you gotta go grab another one. So we went through like 5 swabs to get all the dirt and dust off of it because it was pretty caked on there. But when I watched, and I thought, God, that's not so hard. So what I recommend is whatever camera you have, find, like he mentioned, look on your menu, how to turn, if you have a DSLR, you got to get the mirror up. For those of us that have mirrorless, I've yet to clean mine yet, so I'll figure that out. But it'll be in the menu, and And they always recommend having a fully charged battery when you do this because it's got to be open. It's going to be on while you're doing this. So fully charge your battery and do like your manual says or like it says here in the back of your screen. And then here's the loop, but like I said, the battery broke because I broke it. But you would take it off and then just put it up here and you look. Ooh. And if you look, it does reflect a little bit of the light if you put it towards the light. Do I have it on right? No. Where the lights are, that goes down. Are you sure you want to learn from me? Perhaps that would not work. So yeah, oh, I can see that. Okay. So I'll let you all come up here. Apparently this camera does not have, oh, there it is. Oh, that's just the mirror. Okay. That's cool. It's really tiny because this is a 4/3. So this doesn't open up all the way, or it doesn't stay open. It only does it for like 60 seconds, and then we gotta hit the shutter button again. Is that right, Delphin?
Yep,
60 seconds.
Is there a particular fluid per manufacturer to clean different?
No. Well, I bought this from Amazon. I think it was like 20 bucks. I think it comes with 14 swipies. So you get the swipies, and it comes with the juice.
The only manufacturer that I know of that sometimes has issues is
Sony?
Sony.
Oh, I don't know.
Don't shake your head.
You know, you gotta.
Special coatings on it that has actually caused problems with some of the standard cleaning solutions.
You're gonna have to check with your own manufacturer. Read the manual about cleaning sensors and see what they say. All right, so everybody's gonna get. We got enough here. So this is what it looks. I don't know if you can see. It looks like it's kind of on a slant. That's the mirror. Okay. Oh.
Now the swabs they sell for crop sensors and.
Yeah. When you buy, you have to. This is a micro 4/3, and it's small enough. It's got to fit the because you don't like paint back and forth and scrub it like with a dish brush.
One swipe.
It's one swipe, and it covers the whole width of the sensor. And then you go back the other way with the other side. Now there's micro 4/3. There's I think they have separate ones for crop, because Canon and Nikon, because they're different, and then full frame 35 millimeter. I'm guessing if you've got a medium frame, medium format, large format, you know. But you just type that in there. And if you're going on Amazon, I put this in the description, and I started scrolling down. They were throwing in 35 millimeters. If you don't pay attention to the exact same thing that you're buying, make sure that it's the right one. So take one of these things off. The handle part is always at the top where you rip. There's little tabs in there. It's all vacuum sealed. Ooh! Remember how big that guy's was? This is so tiny. I don't think we'll need 2 drops. So you just drop. And don't touch it, just choop. And then choop. Come on. So when you guys try, I'll let you all do this. You gotta hit the button. Oh. There it is. So then, I don't know if you can see this, just like he did, you start at one end and just put just enough pressure, and then back. You don't want to do it real hard. This is not a micro 4/3. Don't ever do that. This is wider, or my sensor is wider than this. I don't don't think they make swabs for this camera anymore. But anyway, you'll get the gist of it. You just want to put enough pressure on it just to make it a little bit, just a little bow, just enough. And then do it once and then back, once and back. Wow. So, who wants to play? Come on, anybody want to come up? Don't. Come on, Oscar. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Oh, there's another one. So there's a little notch. Do you want to? So folks, we're just going to shut the video off because we're just going to have people playing with the camera. I'm going to put the links, like I said, on the website, and you can watch it, and you can watch their videos, and if I come up with any other videos that will be helpful. Are you going to record everybody? Okay, so the mirror doesn't, so hit the shutter button here, and then it'll let go of it.
Is the shutter going off or not?
No, here, let me see.
You turn off the camera.
Oh, I turn off the camera.
Turn it back on. Press the shutter.
Okay.
It should open. If it didn't, it needs to lens first.
Oh, there it is. There you go. It's temperament. I should have brought my crop sensor. That would have been more handy. So that's it. Anybody else want to try it out? I highly recommend when you do it. If you don't have one of these loops, I never use it. If you really want to use it, you can. But what I do is I will take the camera. You put it to test it. No, I think Nick Page did this. Let's leave are you still recording? Yeah. Okay. So what I do to test it is I find a white wall.
Piece of paper on first.
Or I put a white piece of paper at work. I got Peter McKinnon up there now.
You got spots all over.
Yeah. Put it on manual. What the heck? F. Anyway, I don't know how to change the F's up on here. It's been so long. Put it on F22, the highest f-stop, whatever lens, doesn't matter. Put any lens on, whatever the highest number f-stop you have, put it to that, because that's where they mostly show up, is the higher. If you've got it on F28 or F4, you're hardly ever going to see your dust spots. So put it on the highest f-stop and make it out of focus. You don't want to see the wall. You want to see what's on the sensor. And I just move the camera around, let it go like 4 or 5 seconds. Or even if you're out, put it up in the sky. If it's just move it around. So you don't want any detail in your picture. You just want white. And then when you take it, if you got one of those, you can plug it back into your computer, pull it up on, and look, and you can really zoom in. It's a hell of a lot better than using one of these.
I have to add something on those loops.
Yes.
The magnifiers. You gotta be careful because some of them will not work with mirrorless because of the separation between the lens mount and the sensor.
Well, I don't think
the one that I have does not work with mirrorless, so when I use it on mine, I have to lift it off of the thing.
Oh, because it's too.
Yeah, exactly. So
right. Yeah.
This will tell you if it's meant for mirrorless or if it's meant for DSLR.
Well, I bought this because of him, and I used it a couple times. Huh?
Yeah. They should.
So yeah, actually what I do is at first I do the test. If I see spots, I'll take it and I'll blow. Put it back on, try it again. If I still see spots, then I'll grab and I'll start playing. What was that? So you keep doing it until you don't see any more dust spots. If it's just dust, I think if you don't clean it for years, it's going to take you, like I said, with Jason and I trying to, took him like 5 or 6 swabs just to finally get every little piece off of that sensor.
And depending where you go to, I said I was at a swamp walk and I changed lenses on my brand new camera that this is being recorded on. And it was, I don't know what got in there. I used every single swipe that I had in the house. I finally gave up, took it to the camera store. The guy insisted that I had scratched the sensor. I did not. Took 20 pictures of it because he was horrified. Kept it for a week, then shipped it to Nikon because he couldn't clean it either.
Wow.
Then I got it back. It was clean.
Well, does anybody else want to try? I bought these for you guys. I could care less about this camera, honestly. Anybody else?
You're hoping it's broken. I think it is broken.
It is broke. Well, I can't take a picture. I gotta be, it's like manual. You gotta move. That's how you focus. And if I get something in focus, it's sheer luck. That time when I came back from Paris and they had bed bugs in my apartment, so I had to quarantine all my camera gear, right? So all I had was this. I said, I'm gonna go to the Everglades. So I said, screw it, I'll take this. I'm a better photographer than I was in 2015. I can make this thing work. No. Alligators were everywhere. It was so cool. I had maybe 3 pictures that were in focus. So, nobody else wants to try?
Wrap it up, sir.
Sure. All right, well, that's it.
You made a comment about it, line of comment. One of the things to consider if you've got significant camera gear, the Canon Professional Services, for $100 a year, I can get lenses, cameras, and clean, lube, and service. And I think you can do 3 a year.
Oh, wow. That's a good deal for $100.
Bucks. And you got to ship it. They ship it back.
Right.
And if you have any repair services, you get between 25 to 30% off on labor and parts. If you qualify, you got to own so much gear. If you qualify, that infield intro level CPS really works well. And Nikon has a similar service. I think you got to get recommended for it.
Yeah, I know.
Nikon was, okay, supposedly I just talked to Jason, and they have changed what is required to get it. Before, it was, you had to show proof that over 50% of your income was from photography to get to be part of the Nikon professional service. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
They had a level that it was like, we don't care if you spend $500,000 with us. If you don't make 50% of your income from us, you're not a professional.
Right. And if you don't want to do this, if you can't be bothered and you don't mind sending it in, call up your Nikon rep and find out where to send it. Or Pittman, I think they send it out too. I don't know if they clean them.
If they can't clean it, they'll send it out. That's what
and then there's always Isaac up at the Southern Technological blah blah. I forget the name of the. I'll put a link to his website as well. They supposedly do a good job. And I think if Robert goes, they do a great job. If I go by myself, they don't do a good job. But that's just me. Anyway, but yeah, you can always send it out. If you're scared to touch it, I'm sure this sensor is perfectly fine after what I just did to it. That was never the problem before. So yeah, and if you have a DSLR, or I think all of the sensors, you're not really touching the sensor. There's a piece of glass over the top of it. So if you scratch anything, you're going to scratch that. You're not going to scratch your sensor. You still got to replace that, but yeah, I think that's it then. Anybody else have any questions?
We're good.
Everybody know what they're doing? Everybody got the cleanest sensors in town? No, I don't. Oh, you know what? When he talked about the shower thing, my house, I'm sure, is full of dust because I have carpet. I have, I don't have tile. If you don't want to do this in the shower, I wouldn't do it as soon as you turn the water off. Let it settle first. But then, yeah, if you've got room in your bathroom, go ahead and do it in there. Otherwise, something without any fabric, no furniture, like a kitchen, Yeah, turn every kind of ceiling fans off. Block the vents maybe if you got air conditioning coming out of here. I do it at work in their kitchen when I do it because my house is full of carpet. And it's all tile. The whole office is tile. So when I need to do it, I'll just grab it at work and do it. But yeah, I mean, it's real simple. I couldn't, when I first did it with Jason, I was like, this is it? Why was I so scared? It was simple. I ain't gonna spend $50. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Bye, everybody. We'll see you at the next meeting.
Got it. Photo wall.